Hello, everyone. This is another episode number 10, right after Labor Day week or during the Day week. That's going so fast. I can't believe it. So now I feel like I'm not that calm. We're talking about calmness. Calm is contagious, becoming the leader
Calm.
other wants to follow. Welcome, Elise. How are you?
Hi, Francis. Good to see you. Hi, everyone. So, this conversation is really exciting for me because can you think of a time that there was just someone around you that you were attracted to, that you wanted to know more about? There was something like magnetic about them. And I think that's so important in leadership. You want to be that person that other people choose to follow because they want to, not because they have to. I think back in the day, people led by fear and they led because of their title. And I feel like things have changed these days. Anyone can be a leader, regardless of their title, but you must be that person that people choose to follow. And today we want to talk about what it means to be that leader.
Absolutely, I love that subject too. We talked about it already. I have a story about how calmness is so powerful. There's an image actually that came to my mind while you were talking, because for me, I feel that, and I'll talk for men or the sacred masculine, if we can call it this way. I feel that one of our role, and that's a role I think also of a leader, is to be that type of lighthouse. You know, the lighthouse is always an image that I can see on the internet, that you can, like, that lighthouse, there's so many waves that are crashing, but the
Yeah.
lighthouse is so strong and solid, you know?
Mhm.
And that's what I'm thinking when I think of calmness, a strong calmness that really inspires other people to say we're good, like we're safe, the ship is not going to sink, we
It's
are
like a beacon of
okay.
hope. Yeah.
Right, exactly. And then the story that I had is, it's actually following a great exercise if everyone wants to follow that one. If you want more clarity in your life, that's the one. So my coach kind of said, well, you know, I want you to do nothing for 3 days, and asked me a question just before that. He said, before you go, I'm going to ask you a question. You think about it, and you cannot do anything for 3 days. And the question was, uh, go in your agenda, write this in five, like on the date that's 5 years from now, and write this. This is the day that I die. So he said, what are you gonna do with this? Who do you want to become? What's the point? Why are you here on planet Earth? And so he just left me. He left me with this, and then I just started to do this challenge. And because I didn't really have too much to do, and I was just trying to find some things to do, I had actually a meeting with one of my friends at one of the hotel in Vancouver. And after an hour, I was just listening because, you know, I had no other things to do. Really, I was being present and was listening to him the whole time. And the thing that I will always remember what he says, like, you look so calm. You're so calm. Like, do you have time? Like, can you stay a little bit? I said, yeah, sure. Because, you know, I had nothing to do. So I'm like, I'm here and I'm present. And that was a great lesson for me to see the power of when we are being present. And so now we can relate it in terms of leadership. When an employee or a colleague is talking about a challenge, or they're sharing an idea, are we thinking about something else to do next? Or are we really being present and listening with no filter, just about what the person
Mm.
is saying in front of us? And that, my friend, is very powerful. So much so that maybe some people would want to spend more time with you. That was the story. So now there's a quote
So
also I
tell
wanted to.
me, I'm
Yeah,
curious. So when you were in that situation, did you feel different? Do you feel like you were showing up for him differently or listening to him differently when you had that conversation?
absolutely. Yeah, yeah. I think it's the first time that I felt so present, because the point, maybe the challenge or the assignment, was you do nothing. And so if I did nothing, which meant really no journaling, no looking on the social media, not working, and I was a real estate agent at that time, so I had to make sure that everything, I had to trust. I had to trust and also kind of put everything aside. So I became very, very present to nature, walking. I was
Mm.
walking and people were saying hi, which doesn't really happen that often. I was stuck in a queue to get an ice cream, and for the first time in my life, if the queue was an hour and a half, It didn't matter, and I was probably the one with the biggest smile on the. I'm sure, like I mean,
If it was
I
good
can
ice
definitely
cream.
stay here. Like it's fine. So yes, absolutely. And the thing is, I can almost remember the type of things that I said to him, and it's we're talking about 10 years ago. 10 years ago. So now that you're asking me this question, I realize that when we are present and when we're calm, we can even go deeper and probably find solutions faster just because we're so present and we're calm in the situation. Actually, if we're thinking about the nervous system, that makes a lot of sense, right? Because if we're in survival mode and we're panicking, then the only thing that the brain can help us do is focus. Just focus on one thing, but exclude everything else. And so we're not coming
Narrow
up with a
focus.
lot of
Mhm.
narrow focus, and we're not coming up with a lot of creative ideas because we're just in survival. We got to just get out of something as opposed to being calm, having faith, and know that, and fun. Let's have some fun with it. And now with this energy, we start to be really productive and we start to do way more than we thought. So yeah.
Mm, mm. Yeah. So I know we have a quote coming up
Mm-hmm.
about calmness. So it says, calmness of mind is one of the beautiful jewels of wisdom. It is the result of long and patient effort and self control. And I think that jewel of wisdom is so beautiful because it allows you to think clearly. It allows you to, consider all the options. And that's when you're attracting people. And I know when I was leading a team, often things come up that are unexpected. That's like change happens and unexpected things happen in business. And often my team was like, why are you so calm? And I didn't feel that calm inside. And that was something that I needed to work on in terms of, okay, let's take in the information and make the best decisions. But I knew for me to get panicky is just going to make everyone else panic in my team, right? So if I stay calm, they always they kind of take on the energy you put out, right? It's like when you have children around you, if mom or the parent is like anxious, then the kids become anxious. So if we're calm, we're almost like setting the stage for the rest of the people going, it's okay. Like, I know we have the solution within us. Let's pull together and let's kind of get to the right answer. And I think that calmness is so beautiful because it's this kind of stage that allows people to think clearly. It allows creativity. And I feel like it also allows collaboration because when people are in stress mode, you were just talking about your narrow focus. Typically, if you're in stress, you're just caring about yourself, right? Because your instinct is to I need to survive. I need to look after myself. And I think that calmness allows you to think bigger. It allows you to think about more people. What is the impact on others? How do we bring other people together? And I really believe that's when you get the best from yourself and from your whole team.
Yeah, and I think the key is to learn how to become calm despite the waves. Because and if all the audience can remember all the wisdom that we've given so far, we're really talking about how to live in a world that starts from the inside out as opposed to the outside in. So we're not being affected, or our sanity is not affected by the external circumstances. It doesn't dictate how we are behaving. And that's true freedom, and that's where we can become very calm. And I think that's why I can agree, and I know where he's coming from when he says it's the results of a long and patient effort in self-control. So you get to a point that thanks to all these beautiful challenges in life and the fact that you're still alive and you haven't died yet, that we are able to see that, you know what, everything's going to pass away. It's impermanent. It's not going to last for a long time. Actually, a friend of mine called me this afternoon and it made me laugh because he said everything is rising or passing away, which is a big beautiful lesson that I got in Vipassana, which is 10 days silent meditation. And you really become so good at kind of mind control where you're just observing your thoughts. And there's a lot of thoughts that we have in a day and in maybe even in 60 seconds. So I think one of the advice or suggestion I would give to the audience is that when we start to feel stressed out and that we find that it's hard to be calm, one of the ways is almost detaching ourselves and just observing what's happening, just being the observer. And the more we detach ourselves from that, you're being detached. So now you're not as emotionally attached to what's happening. So you're observing, and you can really see what's going on. And the brain is nuts, really, when you think about it. There's, especially in survival mode. So just being able to slow down, observe, and maybe take a deep breath, like just a beautiful box breathing that I think we talked about one day. So inhale 4 seconds, hold it 4 seconds, exhale 4 seconds, hold it 4 seconds. Just doing that 3 times is really truly going to regulate the nervous system, and then you're like, all right, now we can talk. And that would be really good to do even before a sales presentation or something that's important. Just getting outside, being grateful, taking the deep breath, and then let's go. Putting attention to the intention.
It's so valuable. And I know last time we spoke about authenticity, and I know you have a post that you want to read for us, but being authentic is so important. And I think that that's something you can't fake, right? I mean, I think you can say all the right things, but people can sense when it's real, when it's authentic, when it's something that's from your heart. And that's when people really connect with you. And I think people want leaders that are real, that are willing to be vulnerable, willing to be open. Gone are the days where you kind of just say something and people must say it, must do things because you said so. And it's all kind of rules and regulations. I think it's more about purpose and what makes people passionate about what they do and getting people aligned, because that's when people really see what you're about. And when your values align with that of the organization, I really feel like that's when people really get aligned. That's when people give you the extra energy. They work after hours because they want to excel. They want to give your clients more than they have to because they want to be excellent, and that's what they care about. And I think when we're willing to be vulnerable and authentic, that's when our people really connect with us.
Yeah, and you made me think of another meeting I just had this week, and we were talking about, and that's very appropriate to what's going on in the world, AI. There's so many people talking about AI these days, and I don't know you, but the more and more we go in time, we're asking ourselves, is this real? Is this fake? Is this the reality? And so being vulnerable, allowing ourselves to make mistakes while we speak, or especially if we're doing it in front of a camera and we're sharing like we're sharing today, like we know now that this is not perfect. We know it's human.
We would have edited
We're not
it by
AI. Like who? And maybe I have some. I mean, I have a French accent, so I know that AI is probably going to be, I don't know how to do this accent. It's fine. But the point is that this is what we want because this is real, right? Like it's absolutely real. And like you said, people can definitely notice. So now that you've given me the cue, I will read this. And that's actually from one of our colleagues that works at or represent Thinking into Results like we do. Her name is Lone Peterson, and she's in Denmark. And so she wrote a post on LinkedIn that really, truly inspired me. She said, "This blew my mind. Scientists can measure your emotions without asking you a single question. Do you want to know the most powerful emotion? Spoiler, it's not love. There's a law called constructive interference. When two frequencies align, the wave doubles." We can think about a lot of stories on that. "And when they clash, the wave cancels out. So the translation of this is positive people amplify your energy and negative people cancel it. So next time you wonder why someone leaves you drained or why another makes you unstoppable, it's physics, it's not magic." And science has gone further. The SPAN scale, which means scale of positive and negative experience, shows that emotions emit measurable frequencies strong enough to pinpoint moods like jealousy, despair, or joy. This single most powerful attractive frequency a human being can emit is not love, but authenticity. So that's exactly what we said, and we can measure that.
I love how you said positive people amplify your energy. Isn't that powerful? And that's a challenge for all of us. Do you want to be the person that amplifies the energy in the room, that brings out the best of people, that makes them excited about a project or solving a problem or just being amazing, right? Or are you going to be that person that pulls everything down, where it's like you've just swallowed the energy when you've walked into the room? And we all know that your energy precedes you, right? Before a person has said anything, you can sense what's going on with them. You can sense if they've had a good day or a bad day, or it's like how they walk, how they show up, their facial expressions, how they hold their shoulders, and who do you want to be? Do you want to be the person that amplifies everything, that brings out the best in people, or do you want to be the person that sucks the energy out of everything?
What's the answer on that? Let's ask the audience. Who do you want to be?
But you know
The
what? I
vampire
think
or the
we all know we want to be the person that amplifies, but are we willing to do it when we don't feel like it? Like we all have those
That's the
days when
question.
you're like, oh, I'm tired and it's been a long day and this client complained or this person's upset. And then you must go, as you said, in spite of that, I choose to be the amplifier of energy. Right?
That's the question, and that's very like I was kidding you, and you provided the perfect answer. Look at how you're so calm, providing the answer that with that curveball. It's true, absolutely, because that's the question. It's really asking ourselves, what do I choose now? Because, and that made me think of another thing that I mentioned actually in a live event yesterday. It was about the fact that I lost my mind. Just I was literally, I lost my mind. I was about to say something. See, this is very authentic, guys. This is exactly what's happening when you when you're just being human. See, I cannot make this up. It will come back. It will come back.
Okay.
But
So I was
yes,
having a conversation with one of my clients today, and he's a very like self-aware person, but he's always been very focused on caring about his family. So he came from a background where like his family was really poor. His parents like battled to get them like through school, and they had to get scholarships to get educated. And there was never enough, right? And he promised himself that he one day would be able to care for his family. Like that was his goal. And he said like 10 years ago, he was working with another coach, and that's what he wanted. And he's now built a really successful business, and he's done exceptionally well for himself and his family. And then we had a conversation. He said, but it's not fun anymore. And he said, and I'm not enjoying my success. And that's really a sad thing to kind of realize, right? And he says that he carries a level of guilt towards his family, and he almost feels bad that he's like done better than his parents did, and so a lot of the conversation was around what makes you happy, and those are the goals. I mean, we often talk about goals to our clients, right? So he had this goal and he wanted to earn a certain amount of money and have this kind of security from a financial perspective, and that box is ticked. And then my conversation with him was, what is the next goal? And now that you've reached that, there's a new challenge for you. And if it's not financial, that's also okay. So allow yourself the grace to go, what is my priority right now? And let me acknowledge that where I was 15 years ago is different to where I am now. So, ask yourself these questions and acknowledge what makes you happy and what is really important to you, and prioritize for you. And then if that means working less or selling the business or making plans over time to scale down so that you can spend more time with your family, that's okay. Because he almost felt like there was this rat race. He was on this treadmill and he couldn't get off, right? And he's like, I've been working this hard for so long and I don't really have to anymore from a financial perspective. And of course, you can continue doing it, but what's more important and what do you want right now? So we had this really beautiful conversation about, that goal has been achieved, and what does the next goal look like, and what is your happiness worth to you? And I really think it's important for people to kind of take those almost like milestones in your life, right? I mean, there's a goal now, and that doesn't mean it needs to be the goal forever. It doesn't mean it has to haunt you, because it almost felt like this goal that he had is like chasing him around now. I thought it was so interesting, and I thought it was just such a great reminder that we have goals and we have phases in our life, and now that you've kind of solved or reached that one specific goal, it doesn't mean that you need to keep running on the same treadmill. There's a different priority now, and there's a different phase, and give yourself the kind of liberty and space to go, maybe it looks completely different, and I get to choose that. He also was quite worried about, what will the people say if I
Mm.
sell the business or if I stop working as hard. And I was like, if it's your goal, it's your decision. It's not like it's being done to you. It's not like you're letting this happen. It's I am choosing. It's almost like, the one is reactive and the one is proactive. And I think when we're proactive around, this is what's important to me, this is what I'm prioritizing, then that's completely in your control. It's your choice. That's a really empowering place to be. And I think it's good for us to kind of take these moments in life and go, okay, what I said my goal was previously, is that what's still important to me? And especially when you start achieving them, set new goals. What do I need to learn? How do I need to grow? We know goals are about growth. And what
Mm.
is important to you right now, so that your goals and where you're going serving you, right? I mean, we get to design the life we want and make sure it's what you really enjoy and that it's fun. We spoke about fun last time, right?
Yeah,
Make
yeah.
sure you're having fun. Like it doesn't, it's not like a sentence that you need to go through. This is something that you get to choose. So you're empowered to choose what you want this to look like.
I love that. Thank you for bringing that story, because it reminds me of that challenge that I just talked about, right? Like if you only have 5 years to live, what's the point? Why are you here? Like what? So, and with that question, you could change a lot of things in your life. You can actually realize that I'm not controlling my destiny, or I let external circumstances drive me, and I choose now, like you said, to take a different path, because that's going to serve me. And I think that the great leaders, are the ones that I have actually chosen the path. They're not the one that are being they're not the puppets. They're not reacting. They're responding. That's their choice. And I think it brings a lot of calm, and it brings a lot of centeredness. You know that this person does it for a reason. They have a purpose behind it. I have a great vision. You see a lot of companies, big companies, starting up when people they're well after they're 50 years old, right? Like, because now they, like you said, they gravitated the first mountain. They realize that's not what really matters, and then the next company that they have is really heart centered, and now it matters to them. And who doesn't want to follow a leader like that you can see the strength, the power that's behind this lighthouse, that no matter how many waves, you keep on going because this matters to you. There's a beautiful North Star that people want to follow. And this type of leader is humble enough to also just say, you know what, I recognize you, I appreciate you, and we're all here as a team to go get to the next goal. So thank you for bringing that up. Mm-hmm.
And as you were speaking, something else also came to my mind, because imagine following a leader that is not really enjoying where he is right now. I mean, I bet that his team can sense that, right? And then there's this kind of dis-ease in the organization. So, as a leader, it's so important that we kind of know what's important to us, and that we're this beacon that you were talking about for the rest of our teams. And something else is that, if we need to start off by leading ourselves before we can lead other people. And that comes back to discipline and understanding what we stand for and our values. But if you can't lead yourself, how are you going to lead other people? So it all starts with us, right? Once you have that like internal awareness, understand what's important to you, where your priorities are, what your values are, that trickles down everywhere.
Yeah, and it's a perfect segue for the next slide that we wanted to talk about some of the major attributes of leadership, because there's probably 10 or 12, but centered around the calmness and centered about being your self leader first. The first one, and that's very important, is self-control, right? Like we're going back to, what are you going to do when there are some crises, some challenges? Are you going to be the one that panics, that starts to blame everyone? Or going back for the last one, assuming full responsibility, are you blaming people or taking full responsibility of it? I don't know I'm trying to remember if it was Steve Jobs or Bill Gates, but I know that one of them was embracing mistakes from people, more so that they knew that they will never do that again. They've learned something. They were not saying, we don't want mistakes at all in this company. They were embracing the fact, maybe that's not Steve Jobs or Bill Gates, but someone very famous. I'm sure maybe that's come to your mind. But the point was, they're embracing the fact that people are making mistakes.
Yeah.
And that
I
takes a
actually
lot of.
heard about, sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I heard that, and again, we'll check the facts, but I heard that Facebook used to have like they used to actually celebrate mistakes, right? And it brings me back to like Edison, where he tried to make the light bulb 10,000 times, right? So if you're embracing and almost celebrating mistakes, you're allowing people to think big, you're allowing people to be courageous, you're allowing them to be creative. And that's when you kind of get the best out of people, right? And I think that we so easily say that, but if you're actually an organization that truly celebrates it and go, hey, these guys try to do this thing and it didn't work, but good on you, and they're going to try and tweak things, or I think that's incredible, because that just gives people such a platform to be courageous and open and just kind of go wild. And that's when you get the best out of people, when you're willing to almost be a bit silly. I'm sure some of these ideas that come out on these whiteboards when they're brainstorming, everyone's like, do me a favor. And I bet that's sometimes the start of the best solutions. Often people say when you're brainstorming, often people kind of come with 3, 5, 8 ideas. It's often when you get to number 20, when like all the obvious ones are gone, that's when the real jewels come out. And you often laugh about it and it sounds a bit ridiculous, but often that triggers a thought and you go, oh, I never thought about that. So having that culture and an organization where you're willing to have fun, willing to think big, willing to be courageous, that word courage for me is so important, because it comes through in so many things that we do. It's the decisions we make. It's the things that we're willing to tolerate. It's how we're showing up. It's the conversations we do or do not have. That is such an important word for all of
Yeah,
us.
absolutely. I think in courage, I see for some of the salespeople out there, it could be a pre-game self-talk, right? What are you going to do when you face an objection? You're going to face the better salespeople are the ones that have handled so many objections, and it takes just courage to go out there and learn and fail and learn and fail and then win,
Mm.
because we have had that experience of so many different failures or feedback mechanism that we know now that we're going to be able to achieve our goals thanks to all of these failures. So I think for me, courage is, I see pre-courage. And you mentioned decision. So it's a decision to make. It's a decision to make beforehand, knowing fully that we will make mistakes. And that's actually very, very important in order to grow. I was listening to a beautiful podcast from Benjamin Hardy this morning on the science of scaling. And there was a guy that actually scaled his business from 40,000 to $1.5 million in 6 months. That's huge. So imagine. So I'm gonna get back to the courage on that, because he had to make some decisions as to, okay, well, I want to scale my business now. I have what everyone is going to say is impossible, but I believe it's possible. I'm going to use time as a tool, not to compress me and constrict me, but just because I want to play the game. How far can I go? How quick can I be on accomplishing my goal? And then you just realize I can't continue the way I'm doing it right now. Like, I have to change maybe the clients or my salespeople, or you had to make courageous decision in order to grow. And sometimes that could mean that, hey, this is a B player, it's not an A player. And yes, that person has been there for a little while, but it's not going to the North Star, and it's not going to help to have this person in the team right now, because everyone else is an A. And especially not if it's a C. Like, I know myself, like, I've been in organizations where I see the C's, and the C's, because of their energy, talking about all the waves, it's constricting, cancels out everything. And it sends a signal also to say, you allow that? Like, we're an A team, like, let's go, let's win. So it takes a lot of courage to be a leader. And this is just going back to the foundation, right? All that we're talking about is inner leadership. And you can read the books and read about the tactics, but if you don't know how to self-control, if you don't know how to be a good leader yourself first, there's nothing that is going to change on the outside until you change from the inside first.
Absolutely. As you were talking now about failure, I think it was quite an important lesson for me to learn as well, right? I think that When you grow up in the school system, you're almost like scared of making mistakes, right? You're getting a bad mark on an exam or whatever. And I remember recently, I think it was one of Hormozi's books where he said that successful people have failed more than unsuccessful people have even tried. I remember thinking, wow, like the unsuccessful guy would try once or twice and go, I guess I can't do it. And they'd like give up. The successful people are the ones that go back over and over and over again. And you have many sports stars that were like, Michael Jordan wasn't in the high school basketball team. Or like there's so many of those examples, and they just kind of go, I'm going to come back harder and I'm going to practice more and I'm going to do more shots. And that's when they're truly successful. All the most successful people are actually the hardest working. And so often we go, oh, well, they're natural talents and it comes so easy to them. It isn't. If you like read about any of them, they're willing to work harder than anyone else. They're willing to do the hard work, and that's why they're so successful. And they're willing to fail along the way. Like everyone's step one of their journey is bad. Go back to the first time you did whatever you do currently, right? The first time you did it, you sucked probably. And you get better and better and better. And only because you're willing to do it over and over again, that's how you improve. If you let go and you just give up on step 3, of course you're going to suck because you haven't like done enough reps to improve, and anyone will. And I think that, if I feel like that's one of the most important lessons we need to learn. Like if we could tell kids from like the word go, it's okay to fail. Everyone is bad at something. You're only going to improve when you put in the time and the effort. What a great lesson to learn early in life.
Absolutely. And who's her name? The founder of Spanx, Sarah Blakely. Her dad was saying, "What did you fail at?" Every day, because he was basically just reinventing the way of the term of failure. Failure was just a lesson, and look at where she's gone, right? And she was also selling faxes door to door, received a lot of no's, and the story that she has is full of mistakes and full of failures, and she's gone very, very far, which I think goes to the point number 3, definiteness of decision. I think I see that in the very high successful people, and I'm sure Sarah is the same. I know you've had success too. I had success, and every time I had success, I knew that I made a decision, and I just didn't know how it would happen. Like I had the faith and the courage to go, even if I didn't know what would happen. And it takes and that's one of the things that a lot of leaders haven't learned how to do, is make that decision, which means that you will never have all the information to make the decision. And you can always find the good reasons to turn right, and there's very valid reasons, and then you can actually find all the reasons why you should turn left. And because the brain is that brilliant, it's just now that you decided to go left, here's all the reasons why it makes sense. And
I may as well help you get there.
So the point is go find out, make that decision, go find out. And if you, by turning right, that was the wrong decision, then now you know, and then you can turn left. And I remind myself of that. I love the decision article by Bob Proctor, because it's 6 pages, gold. And I give it to my clients all the time, and I advise them to read it at least once a month, because it's just to remember, I don't need to know everything. Yes, I'm going to make some mistakes. I'm actually all I need to do is make a decision. What's my purpose? For what purpose am I doing this? And if the vision is very fun and exciting, then you will go forward. And it also reminds me of when we're acting out of faith, that means we're not acting out of fear. And some of the fears that is established in the book Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, 2 of those. One is fear of criticism, and the other one is, I think it's loss of love, which means that you want to be approved, and so you fear losing the approval of someone. So now you start to please as opposed to serve. And how many people can we think of, or even ourselves, when we start to please? It's just because really underneath that there's a fear. It could be that in a meeting someone comes late and everyone's on time, but now you have the fear of being hard on that person in front of everyone, or just say, hey, we had an agreement, we need to be on time. And so we don't say anything because maybe that's the top performer, and we don't want to do something against the top performer, or even in private. That would be better in private, but we don't say anything because we have that fear. And that's just against, we talk about authenticity and maybe the values that we have. If it's against our own values, we have to have that courage and the self-confidence to say, I'm building this team, and that's with that vision. This is the agreement we have. We're not talking about expectations. We've made that agreement, and let's stick to it, and or find a way mutually together to keep that agreement, because it doesn't serve the rest of the group. It doesn't serve the team. So it takes a lot of courage to be a leader. And when leaders are courageous, people follow. They follow big time.
And I think what you're saying now about the person being late is really valuable, because you get what you tolerate. So every time you accept something from someone, like the person coming late, I mean, I feel like it's quite disrespectful to be late, because it's everyone else's time that you've not basically decided is not as important as yours, right? And sure, things happen sometimes, but if you tolerate that, you're setting the stage, and you telling everyone else that that's okay. And then everyone's like, well, if he can be late, so can I, right? So I feel like that's one of the things about leadership. You're always being watched, and the things that you tolerate, the things that you don't call out or you accept, that is, almost giving people the space to do more of that. And unfortunately, as leaders, people are watching you the whole time. So be very aware and cautious of those things, because if that's not kind of dealt with, then that kind of filters through the whole organization. And that's, that goes back to like discipline, and everyone kind of, taking responsibility. Responsibility for me is such a great word, because people need to be responsible for their own actions, but we're also responsible to one another in a team setting.
Yeah, and it's really, when you reframe this, it's really about serving the goal, serving the organization. So it's not about the person itself. And I think that sometimes we might not even say anything because we're afraid of how the person's gonna react. I mean, I know that even in my own group coaching, these people are paying money. They're paying money to be inside the group coaching, and when they're late, I just tell them, I make sure that every once in a while, that guys, we remember our value. The integrity is really important. So let's be on time. Like, we're gonna start on time, we're gonna finish on time, because now when someone's late, now we have to go back, and we're losing the time that we could have had to give you some feedback on your challenge, or go deeper on the knowledge and the lessons in the program that we're talking about. So I think, as a coach, even I remember in the beginning, I realized quickly that pleasing people is not helping, because I might say things that people don't want to hear, and that's what they want. That means that I'm serving them. I'm not pleasing. If I'm just pleasing, I'm not serving them. I'm not serving their goal. I'm not serving the organization. So we gotta have to, sorry to say, the balls sometimes to just be self-confident and say, this is it. This is what we stood for. We chose that together. So let's continue to do that.
Yeah, accountability, absolutely.
So now we have a beautiful quote. Let's go back to, oh no, not even a quote. We talked about the energy, but that's just to show, right, that the way we express ourselves in our communication, the words don't really matter that much. Action speaks louder than words. And for a speaker, for even a leader, the tonality of how you say things, or the physiology, people can read that from a mile away.
It's incredible to think how low the words is. I mean, I think that the words we use and the language we use is important, but as you say, like the energy you bring and the how you say it is always so important. And I often speak to people about giving feedback, because I think, again, it goes to accountability and courage, and being responsible for actions. And so many people still battle to give feedback, and I think that, sure, often we don't want to cause trouble unnecessarily, or you don't want to feel like you're nitpicking. But I feel like if you see feedback is, I want to invest time and energy in you, I believe that you can be excellent, you can be great, you can improve. I'm giving you the time and attention to help you improve. I think any person that wants to improve, any good performer, wants to know how they can get better. And I think if you see feedback in that sense of, I'm investing in you, sure, maybe it's an uncomfortable conversation, but I am willing to be uncomfortable because I know it's an investment in you. I think that's really great, right? So one of my clients on Friday was saying, oh, well, maybe he'll give the feedback on the 15th after a big deadline. I said, you can't do that, because if you wait so long, you've lost context. People are kind of going, that was 2 weeks ago. What happened again? I mean, that I don't think is very productive at all. So I always say to my clients, feedback is best as quickly as possible. And it doesn't
Mm.
have to be, it shouldn't be in front of other people. Take the person aside and just go, hey, let's quickly talk about this. I think these are the things you can improve. Did you realize how that came out? Or this is the way you could be better serve your clients better. I think it's so important. And again, it's the way in which you say it, right? If people understand that you're doing it in their best interest and you care about them, that you want them to improve, like how can someone take that badly? Sure, no one likes hearing that they aren't perfect. We all like to think that we are, but if they recognize that you're not just trying to badmouth them, you're actually trying to help them. Again, if you're being authentic, people can sense that. And then that actually builds a huge amount of loyalty because people then know that you're invested in their growth.
Yeah, and it reminds me of a team that I was coaching. And one of the things that truly helped in terms of generating some feedback was to understand that all events are neutral. So really what that means is that anything could happen, and if we are reacting and if we have a bad emotion associated to what happened, it's just because we have picked it up from our own perception, from our own paradigm, and we made a story, we made up a story, we gave it a meaning, and that's why we are upset. And so when everybody in the team knew that all events are neutral, it just became almost not fun, but if somebody's having a bad day and they say something at you and you know that all events are neutral, you're like, are you all right? Because now you're not going to take it personal. You just know that this person just reacted. And now you become a little bit more curious about what's going on, because I know it's not you. You're just, give me this S word to me, but I know it's not you. Like, so what's happening? Just understanding that all events are neutral, and that helps us actually to be very calm in any situations, because now we're like, hold on, like I'm not gonna react. There's something going on here. I know that the people have good intentions. My manager has good intention. He's giving me feedback. I'm not gonna take it personal. So if I'm reacting, maybe there's something inside me that is being triggered, and so that's my work. That's not my boss or my manager's job. It's my job to deal with this trigger. And as a leader, it's very important. That's why I said it requires a long time effort of self-control. That's the jewel of wisdom, to be calm, because you're able to just kind of always take a look at the events objectively and knowing that it's going to pass away, and it's your beautiful lighthouse, and you let the waves come in. That's no problem. Now, towards the end, this beautiful, beautiful quote, and it makes me think of you, actually, Elise. I told you that already. So I'm going to let you read it. And I think you probably have some stories that you can relate to it. That's my
The
intention.
goal of most leaders is to get the people to think highly of them as a leader. But the goal of the exceptional leader is to get the people to think highly of themselves. I think this is so beautiful. The leaders, I guess, previously used to think about how they can take the shine, how they can be like the person that takes all the glory. And when you realize that leadership is actually not about you, it's about your people and how you can serve them. That's when people really, give you that discretionary energy. They give you, that loyalty. They are so committed to you and your team. Getting the exceptional leader to get people to think highly of themselves. So, like, it makes me so happy that you say it reminds you of me, because I think this was the biggest leadership lesson I had to learn. So early in my career, I was like a deal maker in the mergers and acquisitions team of a bank. And there it's like all about you, right? You're like an individual contributor. It's your goals, it's your client, it's your deals. And you just kind of, if I work hard, I do well. And I've like always, I'm quite happy to push myself hard. So I would do well and I'll win awards and it's great. But then when you start leading people, I realized that, I got to a point where I was leading our private banking team, and we had like 65,000 clients and like 400 bankers. And I remember like early when I took on that role thinking, like, no matter how hard I work, I can't serve all these clients, right? So it is not about me. It's about how do I get my team passionate about what they do? How do I get them to love what they do? How do I get them to want to give the best client service and serve their clients? And together we're going to make this organization great. And from that moment, it was all about how do I remove stumbling blocks for them? How do I get them really excited about what they do? How do I help them find purpose in what they do so they do get excited about their job? And I remember speaking to some of them and saying, you know, there was that story about the bricklayers building the cathedral, and the question was, oh, I'm building a wall, and then the one guy said, I'm building a cathedral, and for me it was very similar to that, because you can see like banking as, I'm delivering a checkbook or a card, or I'm dealing with a client query, or you can say, I'm helping someone, plan their legacy. I'm helping them look after their family for generations to come. I'm giving them security to help them buy their first home. Like, that is really meaningful. And I wanted my team to see that. Like, every conversation was a step towards someone's really long-term goal, something that's very emotional, very close to them. Money and finances is truly very emotional. And so, my whole kind of effort went into, how do I get people to understand that purpose, love what they do, understand how meaningful it is, and just seeing how that transformed people and their attitude towards their clients and their work, and the team in general. For me, that was so meaningful. And this quite, like, epitomizes that so much for me, because for me personally, that was quite a big lesson to learn, right? Because when you're young, you're kind of like, oh, I can do this thing and I'm all by myself, and I'm rocking this thing. And then when you go, like, I come last, it's not about me. I'm not the hero of the story, like my people are. One of my early mentors like drew like a triangle for me, and people would typically see the leader at the top and the people at the bottom, right? And he drew the opposite, and he said to me, the leader's at the bottom and you're holding up your people, and so you're at the bottom of the pyramid and all your people at the top here, and your job is to lift them up, and your job is to remove stumbling blocks from them. Like, my job was to sure give them the vision and the passion and the goals, but then to make their life easier, remove everything that takes away from them being successful. And once I really felt like I grasped that, that kind of makes the everyday things of leadership so worthwhile. And that's when you realize that, you're working for something much bigger than you. And that's when you really, really start loving what you do.
That's such a good story, and what a great leader, what a great mentor. I wish I had that type of mentor in my life. Wow. And what I also can imagine is that clients felt it. I'm sure they did. And so what you created as a leader had an effect on the employees, and then it had an effect on the customers. This is beautiful. It just started all with the leadership that you had about. And I also see a story of humility, just realizing that I'm not going to be able to do it all by myself. I'm not going to take, like, if there's anything, it's the credit of all, because I'm nothing without my team. So and I avoid, like, the way that I know you're such a human-centric leader. That's why I thought this quote is for you, and I'm glad that it resonated. And I knew you had a story. We didn't even plan that. We're never planning anything really in terms of stories. We go being authentic, and thank you for sharing that.
That's very special. Thank you.
So now the key takeaways of today. I hope that you realize how calm is it's a big asset. It's such a powerful tool. It's a superpower, really, as a leader. It equals your command. So leaders who remain calm under the pressure, under the storms, or the challenges, they are being trusted. They are being influential, and people want to follow them. And that's really what the purpose was that about. Like, calm is being contagious, really, and your energy transmits everything, even before you speak. And then some of the more.
Then stillness is a skill, not a trait. I think being able to sit back, think, and think clearly is really important, and something that we can do really intentionally. I think people often feel like they have to just speak. And it's often the people with true wisdom that like take in all the information and think about things clearly before they make a decision. And then this one about inner state drives outer results. I think this is a theme we so frequently speak about. You know, everything starts from within. Your outside results is actually a reflection of what's going on inside. And how are you managing your inner state? Are you managing your own state before you worry about people around you? Are you taking responsibility of how you are from the inside and what energy you are setting out into your team, and how you're influencing everyone around you? And then
Yeah.
people follow energy. People follow people that make them feel good, that make them feel, give them trust. When you're calm and you are that beacon that you spoke about earlier, that's such a great visual. People choose to follow you because they feel like you know where you're going. You're guided. You're clear about what you want to do. And I think that also goes into like the purpose and values that people sense, right? If people choose to follow a leader that they align with. And I think that starts with inner work and understanding yourself. And then when people resonate with you and they kind of see you as that authentic leader, they choose to follow you. And that's when these really strong bonds form. That's when you have an amazing culture in your team. You have trust. And that's organizations that do amazing things.
Yeah, and it's all about a way of being. I love that. It goes down to the basics, and the basics are the most important. And yeah, for me, the lighthouse is a big vision that I have. And I was just thinking about, for anyone that have a big goal, that could be an income that they have personally, or that could be for the business goal. One of the things that one of our great friend or inspirational person called Dr. Joe Dispenza would say, we have an intention, and what are the elevated emotions that are associated with that intention? And if I'm asking you, if you imagine your goal, your vision already achieved, how would you be? Like, how would you feel? And I think that most of us, after the goal has been done and accomplished, would feel relaxed. We wouldn't be on a treadmill. We wouldn't be panicking. We wouldn't be triggered. We would just be appreciative of life. And I think so, knowing now that that's who we need to become in order to achieve the goal, the best way to be is to be calm, to be strong, and to be inspiring for other people, because it brings safety. It brings inspiration to everyone. And if there's anything, with all the things that are happening in the world and all the changes, and it's always changing and there's disruptions everywhere, we want leaders that are calm under all of those challenges. So yes, thank you for sharing these takeaways with us, Elise. And thank you again for this beautiful session that we had together. As you know, you can connect with us. Elise is an extremely good leader. She can help your organization. You can scan that code and get into a conversation with her. Same thing with me. We are here to support you. We give you everything that we've got, with all the stories and all the gems and the passions and the wisdom. And thank you for being here, Elise.
Absolutely. Thank you. And people should check out your LinkedIn, because I know you've got some really exciting new projects that you've launched, Francis. So absolutely follow Francis and check all the amazing things that he's working on. And we will be back next time. So look forward to having the next conversation. And thank you for today. What a beautiful unpacking of leadership. It's really exciting to have these conversations with you, and it inspires me every time. So thank you for your time, Francis, and
Thank
your
you so
energy.
much, Elise. Yeah, thank you. So have an amazing week, and we'll see you next time. Thank you,
See you
guys.
next time.